Welcome to Honest Hockey, where two guys talk about all things hockey. Honestly, I'm Tom and he's Tom, and thanks for joining us today. So a little sad news hit us over kind of the weekend. Doc has announced his retirement from NBC, hockey in general. It's time to relax. He's 74 years old.
Doc, why are you gotta relax? All right, come on. Just put yourself aside for once and think of us hockey fans.
Exactly.
God, it's so freaking. Yep, that's what I gotta say about that.
Okay. You guys, you're not taking the news pretty.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. It was. I was shocked. I mean, I was so happy.
I was, as the kids say, shook.
Shooketh.
I don't know if the kids still say shooketh, but I was shooketh.
What was I gonna say? Doc is just the voice of hockey.
He is the voice of hockey. He's, for all the other sports fans, he's the Vin Scully of hockey. Ooh. He's the Marv Albert of hockey. He is hockey's pinnacle of announcing.
Exactly. Yeah. So, figure we're just going to talk about him. A couple of his accomplishments. And a couple of things that you probably didn't know, unless you read his Wikipedia.
Or his book.
So
Go buy his book.
I'm excited to buy his book.
Same.
I'm not much of a book reader, as you know that, from high school. Can I copy off of you?
No!
Okay,
no.
That's how our friendship started.
Yeah, he wanted to copy off me, and I was like, no one copies off me. And then he got the sidekick, the phone, and then I was like, oh, you can copy off me if I can play with your sidekick.
Apparently, yeah, that's how you get friends nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then. So, yeah, I look forward to reading his book.
Yep.
Definitely excited to read that. But, so, a couple of things that probably not that many people know is where he went to school.
Yeah, where did he go to school? Because I don't know where he went.
Manchester University.
Manchester United? Oh, Manchester University. Got it. Okay. Got it. All right.
So, obviously, Doc has a big vocabulary.
I have never heard of Manchester University.
Me neither, but we'll move on from that. Right?
Okay, maybe that's why I don't have a big vocabulary.
Yes. This guy's vocabulary is huge.
Gigantic!
I mean, you do that all the time.
I'm really bad with the camera placement.
But yeah, his vocabulary is so big. I mean, like, the things he talks about, it just kind of...
It's so big we can't even find the words to describe how big it is.
Exactly. I bet he could describe his own vocabulary with vocabulary.
Yeah. I would listen to him read me the dictionary.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah. He could read that, and it'll be interesting.
Absolutely.
So he got a BA or a bachelor's degree in Manchester University.
Manchester United University.
Then he got a master's degree in radio television from Miami University.
I've heard of that one. That one I've heard of.
And then this is probably where he gets the communication skills from. He got a PhD in communications. So hence the word Doc.
Doc. So it's Dr. Mike Doc Emrick. Got it.
So that fits perfectly.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we could talk about a few of our favorite calls.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably going to be the same call.
Same call, yeah. There's a couple calls that keep me up at night that I think about, and then my eyes just go...
Yeah. So obviously it's step on in overtime.
Step on in overtime. Step on in overtime. The Rangers move on to Tampa, which they then lost to Tampa. But we're not going to talk about that.
But it's about Doc.
Iconic.
Yes. What iconic? Just like this. I don't know. There's something about the way he speaks, and just the way he enunciates, and the way he says "score."
Score.
For someone that has communication degree, he doesn't say score correctly. It's score.
Score!
But yeah, that's probably my favorite announcement, or what's the word?
Call.
See? He would know. He would know exactly what to say.
He would know that. He'd be like, no, you stupid. It's call, not announcement. Yeah, one other thing that he just does amazingly is just go on these weird rants. Like, I remember, like, we were watching, the this year's playoffs together, and just, like, we'd just be sitting there, and all of a sudden, he'd just go off on a tangent. I'm just, like, I don't even know where it started from, and we just look at each other and be like, What? But then somehow we enjoyed it.
Primarily, it's either at the end of the game and it's a blowout.
Yep.
Or the game is just, the other team is just obliterating. He's just talking about random stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's so interesting what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know. Like, oh yes, then there's an ice. They're playing on ice, which reminds me of a milkshake I once had.
That
and
ice.
It had ice, and you know what? I very much enjoyed that milkshake. And I'm like, wow, I want a milkshake.
And
now.
what do you think
Doc.
about Eddie?
Kentucky Derby.
Yeah,
that's basically how Eddie and Doc live their life.
Yes, exactly. I feel bad for Olchek.
So funny story. I was listening to Doc did a radio interview with the local people here, and he was talking. And he started talking about Eddie, and but it's weird. Like they didn't ask him about Eddie. Like they were like the original question was, did you have trouble deciding to retire or not? And then he went into this tangent about his wife, and his brother, and his manager at NBC, and Eddie Olchek. He's like, by the way, Eddie Olchek, who has gotten me to gamble on sports, not the horses. I look at him for the gambling on the horses, but sometimes we put a nice little 50-50 at an arena that we go to, and then sometimes we win the 50-50s at the arena, and then I'm like, how did we get here? So I learned that Eddie Olchek has now taken the pure away from Doc, and Doc is now a degenerate gambler. That's what I took away from the question of, did you have trouble deciding to retire?
But you always go back to the original thing.
Yes, he then eventually went back to it, but I forgot the original question by the time he got there.
Yeah, I don't know. The man has a way with his words, and it's just, I love it. I love it. Hockey's not going to be the same with him.
It's not.
You know, obviously, I feel like I don't want to be biased here, but I think the next probably best announcer is Sam.
I disagree.
Oh, wow.
And
again, non-biased here.
Non-biased.
We're a Ranger fan.
So, okay, well, my opinion's really going to be non-biased. So first, I think if it's going to go to someone, it would go to Kenny Albert, who does the Rangers on the radio.
Okay,
Kenny Albert does every sport imaginable, so he's fantastic. But I think if they want to go and look for the next voice of hockey, who can have an entire generation grow up with them, I think it should be Brendan Burke of the Islanders.
Interesting.
I think Brendan Burke is the best, absolutely best up-and-coming play-by-play announcer, but I think he's perfect for the role. He can grow into it.
How long? Do you know how long he's been with Islanders? Or
since Howie Rose left, I'd say probably 5 years or so.
Okay.
Maybe a little less than that.
Because Doc was with the Devils for quite a while.
Right.
And he kind of did on and off with NBC and stuff.
Right. I know Brendan does on and off. He does call a couple of NBC games, and Islander fans are always like, NBC's going to steal him away from us. I think NBC should. I think he is an incredible announcer. He kind of gives me that Doc energy. He also has a big vocabulary.
Okay, all right.
And I think Sam might be a little too old for that position.
I feel like Sam does Sam does a lot of sports as well.
Yes.
But I just feel like, okay, maybe I'm biased. Yeah.
I also don't want to be take any "it's a power play goal" away from any Ranger power play goals. Yeah. So if I were the heads at NBC, I would look at Kenny Albert and Brendan Burke to replace him.
Okay, so honest take that it's gonna.
Honest take, I really do think it should be Brendan Burke, and I think if it's not him this time, whenever the next person retires, it'll be Brendan then.
All right. So then kind of talking about vocabulary, because you kind of talked about how he had a good vocabulary.
Yes. Vernacular, as the scholars would say.
Exactly. Very, very nice.
Thank you. I learned from Doc.
That Emrick is actually part of the communication guide. So he is the vice president? No, president.
President.
Of the National
He's like the founding member.
Guide.
Yes.
For the NHL.
Yes.
So basically,
think of
the NHL has difficult names.
Think of the most difficult name on your team.
Yeah.
And you ever wonder to yourself, wow, how does Doc pronounce that so well?
Because
how do other announcers pronounce it so well?
Wow.
It's because of Doc.
Yes. And I hope he continues on that. I mean, he didn't say anything about that.
If we learn anything from the draft this year, there's going to be some difficult names coming into the league that people are going to need the Doc pronunciation guide for.
So a couple things that was kind of shocking to hear that I didn't know about Doc was that he actually called a couple NFL games.
Yep.
I think I read it was something with Brett Favre was his first announcement job was with Brett Favre's first season.
Okay, so like probably around. Okay, so
it was
like
1992, 1993,
yep.
where he actually did a couple NFL games. I wonder how those went.
Yeah, you know what? I think it went.
We were a little too young for that.
Depending on when in 1992, 93, I don't know if we were born yet.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I think he could call paint dry, and he would be like, the little paint is going down the wall, and I'm like, go paint, go!
Exactly. He just hypes you up.
Yes.
Like a normal call would just be like, oh yeah, he scores in overtime, blah, 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 and he'd be like, oh wow, my team just won. No, this guy just like drives you to something, the adrenaline just a rush through your body.
Yeah.
And then I know you have a story that actually going to go with the next thing, is that he called one MLB game.
Yes.
It was the Pirates versus the Cubs.
Yes.
And in 2016.
2016, yes. So
on your birthday.
On my birthday, July 8th, 2016. He called a game with Bob Costas, and they invited him in to do it because he is a diehard Pittsburgh Pirates fan. And they asked him on the radio, what if the Pirates offered you a broadcasting job where you did 50 of their home games every year? You didn't have to travel, nothing. Would you do it? And he said, absolutely not, because he got to call one Pirates game, and they won the game, and he wants to keep his record calling for his favorite team undefeated. And I thought that was so cool.
How awesome is that?
Yeah. And he's a huge sports fan in general.
Yeah.
Like, he loves hockey. He was, naming off all the baseball players, former Pirates and everything. So it's just cool to see that this legendary announcer still has his fandom inside of him, at least for baseball.
Exactly. I don't have much else to say, but we'll miss him.
We will. He's just, I don't know if we touched on this or we should.
Okay.
He might be one of the nicest people to ever walk this earth.
I can tell.
Yeah. From everything that I've heard, he talks about how he always would go into communications classes and colleges and talk to the students, and he just sounded like he just loved talk. He said,
one guy likes talking.
One last thing was that he said that this kind of stuck with me through the interview, was that he wanted the future broadcasters, like if you're in a communications class and you needed to know like how he's done it for so long, he said, imagine yourself at your favorite sporting event you've ever been to, and he said usually they always smile when they talk about it, and then imagine being there every game, having the best seat in the house, being able to meet the athletes and get paid for it. Yeah. And he said that's what being a broadcaster was like. Wow. So he really put that into perspective. Just like you get to watch the game, you get paid for it, and you get to meet the famous people.
I never even thought about it.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's a really great way of putting it. He's like, and the way he put it was, and twice a month you get something in the mail, which is your paycheck. Oh. He's like, and that was an added bonus. I was like, wow, Doc.
And it kind of goes to what I kind of try to talk to about is if you find a job, then you're not going to like it. But when you find a career, and truly, for him, this was a career for him, and he can care less that there was money attached to it.
And for us, it's talking hockey.
Exactly. So we would like to know what your favorite call from Doc was. Yep. There's quite a few out there that obviously are amazing calls. Yes. But let us know
in the comment section below what your favorite Doc call is. Yeah. What call that hurt your team gives you nightmares. For me, it's Emrick, it's over.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about that. I've had to relive that a lot in the last couple of days because that's one of his most iconic calls.
Yes.
But is there anything else? Any last words you'd like to say to Doc?
Get his book. We'll leave the book in the
description.
In the description. Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So people that want to.
Also, if you buy the book, 100% of the proceeds go to a charity.
I heard of this.
He gets no money from the book.
Yes.
It's all going to cover people's vet bills.
Yes.
Who can't afford to get vet care for their pets.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. Again, he went into a really long story about that, but it's okay. It was about charity, and it was great.
Yeah. So that's it.
That's great. I would like to tell Doc one of my favorite lines of a Billy Joel song is, "Life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. Unfortunately, it's time for goodbye." Thank you, Doc, for just bringing all of this energy and passion to the sport we love, and just making us feel like we're sitting there with you watching the game.
Yeah.
So thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
You are legendary and
the voice of hockey.
The voice of hockey, and we just hopefully you have the best retirement ever because you deserve it.
Yes.
Because you gave us happiness, now you deserve happiness. And thanks for watching this episode of Honest Hockey. Be sure to give us a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to cross-check that subscribe button. I'm Tom. He's Tom. That's our pumpkin. We'll miss you, Doc. Thanks for joining us today.